Good evening, Wood County. I'm Madeline Fenning, News Director here at BG24 News. Every week we bring you the stories that matter most on campus, in the community, across the state and nation. The producers panel is where we take a step back and talk about these stories in our own opinion. But these opinions do not reflect the views of the organization and do not impact the way we tell these or any other stories throughout the week. Tonight we'll discuss the pros and cons of being an RA in college. Then we'll dig into the snowstorm that buried Buffalo, New York, before finally talking about Thanksgiving with a historian who is very knowledgeable in the subject about what really happened between the early American settlers and the Native Americans. It's all here on your BG24 News Producers Panel. And welcome to the producers panel. I'd like to go on ahead and introduce our panel. To my far right over here, we have Alexis Cook, who is a reporter and anchor for BG24 News. We have Megan Gallagher, who is our current general manager. And we have Lucas Dahl, who's a BG24 alum and Thanksgiving historian by trade. So
historian now, I guess.
Our guest of the week, and we're very happy to have him. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
So BGSU Residence Life is currently looking for new resident advisors. Reporter Alexis Cook says the requirements go much far beyond the basic criteria.
BGSU's Residence Life is seeking student resident advisors for the upcoming school year. But before becoming an RA, students have to make sure that they can meet the basic requirements. This includes a 2.5 GPA, full-time student status, an essay explaining why you're fit for the job, and personable qualities. Benefits like free room and board, meal plan, and priority class scheduling make it an attractive offer. But RA Nicole Kiefer says the commitment goes beyond the criteria.
You wear many hats. I'm almost a counselor in some sense. I'm a resource in some sense. I'm enforcing policies. Like, I have so many hats, and sometimes it gets overwhelming.
But for Kiefer's residents, the effort does not go unnoticed.
When I first got here and she was my RA, we did have a long talk about school and stuff like that, how my classes were going. So she's very active with keeping up on people and what they're doing.
Keeping up on people, including herself, Kiefer says she is required to be on her best behavior on and off campus.
I can't go out and be ridiculous out on the town because I'm a role model 24/7. The RA job does not stop.
At the end of the day, Kiefer says that her residents make the cost of being an RA priceless.
The moment when a resident leaves you a note saying, "Thank you for doing this for me," that's the benefit. That is what makes being an RA the most amazing experience I've had in college.
Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Alexis Cook.
So you can apply to be a Residence Life through the Office of, an RA through the Office of Residence Life through February. So I don't think any of us have been in RA before, but we've all had an RA. So I think some of the interesting things you brought up was just how you have to be an RA 24/7 when you are an RA. So I mean, as people who've lived in the dorms and been through college a few years, how would you guys handle that?
I don't think I could be an RA. Flat out. I mean, like she said, it's a 24-hour job, every day of the week. And for me, I know when the weekend comes, I'm ready to just forget anything that happened during the week and have to carry that into the weekend. That's a lot. And also, I always say that I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and I would rather talk in front of a camera to people that I am imagining are there than have to take care and talk to people that literally are there that you're responsible for. It's a huge job.
Also, I mean, I live in the dorms currently, and my RA and other RAs, they make run-throughs throughout the hall, especially on the weekends. They make it I think 4 times throughout I think 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. So they're walking around the hallways throughout that time, and it's you don't really have time to hang out with your friends who are not RAs because those are the people that you get close with, and you don't have any time for anyone else. So it's just, I wouldn't like it. Oh, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sitting here like I can barely manage myself, let alone let alone like 40 other people. So I think we all like get that talk from our parents, though. You know, like become an RA, because you know free living, free housing, and different stuff like that, which is obviously like a perk of being an RA. But I don't know. I questioned. I was like, is it actually worth it? Because I totally agree with Megan. When the weekend comes, I'm like, okay. I'm ready to not be doing anything.
Well, I remember when Jonathan, who's our former news director, when he would be in the newsroom and he would say, okay, well now I have to go, I'm on duty. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's just like, oh, like I have to just, you know, be in the residence hall.
You have to be there.
You have to do it. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like it's like a job in the sense that kind of like a job in the sense that you're like, oh, like you have to be there at certain times and, you know, attend meetings and stuff. But at the same time, like your job is all the time because your job is about living with people who are living under you, and there's all these policies you have to enforce, and it's just, to me, that would be exhausting.
I know.
And also, like, a part of it is, you know, to me it is like a job. It's a full-time job being an RA because, you know, you're taking care of everyone else, and if you're not upstairs in your room, then you're downstairs being like a desk clerk and doing that. And it's like they only get paid every 2 weeks, and they get paid $20 every 2 weeks.
I feel like at that point it's almost kind of pointless.
That's what I was saying.
It's like, I mean, like, I will never turn down money, ever. Like, but it's a very odd number to land on. Like, every 2 weeks you get $20. So, I mean, it's like basically
to do something every single minute of the day.
Yeah, I mean, granted, yes, you get room and board for free.
And meal plan.
And meal plan.
Which is pretty nice.
Which I'm sure they give you bronze, though.
Oh, that you get bronze.
You get bronze.
Still money.
Well, what if you want silver, you know? I mean, like, I know that's a lot of food, but hey, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I also think what's interesting about it is that you have to be like a friend kind of to your residents. I mean, a friend in the sense that you want to get down on their level and just be like, hey, you know, we're cool, we're cool. But at the same time, you have to, like she said in the package, that you have to also be like, you know, hey, be quiet at 11 o'clock, and you have to enforce these policies and stuff. And I just feel like I don't know.
I couldn't do it.
Well, it's like you're always on constant high alert. You know, like as an RA, because like she was saying, like I can't go out on the weekends and go crazy. And I remember like being in my hall and living there. You know, if I went like downtown and just so happened to see my RA at a bar, you know, it's like you make eye contact and you're just like, do I walk away, and you just try to like break the eye contact, or one of us has to leave, and it's really like awkward, and you actually like feel bad for that person, you know, because I mean, they're just planning around their social life too.
Yeah. I was at a party once, and I was there with a friend, and his RA walked in, and they looked at each other, and the RA was literally just like, if you don't say anything, I won't say anything. I couldn't imagine what would I do?
Yeah, the don't ask, don't tell system. I think we're all a little bit familiar with that when it comes to living in the dorms, definitely. Well, we'll have to see how many people turn up with Residence Live looking to be an RA. But when we come back, life in Buffalo, New York has been brought to a near standstill after being buried under 8 feet of snow. We'll talk about that and what the impacts of that snow is in the area when we return. Welcome back. Well, Buffalo, New York they prepared on Monday for a snowy forecast, but they had no idea that they were going to get lake effect snow that gave them over 6 feet of snow to deal with. Now, later in the week, people are still snowed in, and the death toll is starting to rise with more than 5 people reported dead. So definitely something that we are familiar with in BG is, you know, very snowy, you know, cold, windy conditions that do not make the winter very fun, but we have not experienced anything like this. And at first it was kind of like a funny thing, like, oh, look how much snow this place is getting, but now it's getting very, very serious. Have you guys been keeping up with this?
Yeah, I've been watching some news reports on it, and I mean, it's kind of common for Buffalo, especially, I feel like that's almost one of their connotations if you think Buffalo, snow in the winter time. But I was, you know, listening to a report, and the reporter was saying, you know, like, what's so different? I mean, Buffalo always gets snow every winter, and a lot of it. And they were just talking about how it just came so fast and so dramatically that, I mean, yes, they prepare for it, they have the snow plows for it and all that stuff, but it was just coming down so fast that they just couldn't keep up with it. They were shoveling, and it was just filling right back up.
Man, oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I've been watching some stuff. Mostly, you can't not see it right now, I feel like. Anywhere you go, anywhere, online, on TV, everyone is talking about Buffalo, New York, and it's just kind of funny that you, like, everyone knows about Buffalo, New York, like you were saying, but I feel like people don't remember how much snow they get, and now this year it's like, holy crap, like they get a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it's not even December yet. So
I know, and I mean, even we experienced that with
Yeah.
the snow that we got this week. We were just like, oh, it's like Snowvember up in
Yeah.
here. It's like, what's going on?
like we thought that was a lot.
I know,
but then that happened in like 24 hours, and I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Reality
I thought it
check.
was a joke at first.
Right.
I was like, this is not real. But it's crazy, and like, yeah, the death toll is rising, and it's just so sad because a lot of homes in Buffalo, you know, the snow there's so much of it that it's breaking windows, and
Yes.
it's collapsing the roofs and the
it's
houses.
so heavy on their roof that it's causing the roofs to fall in. I saw actually a video where there was a helicopter that was going by, and there were people standing on their roofs with snow shovels.
Oh my
And they were trying to
gosh.
shovel their roof so it would be a little bit lighter, because I mean, could you imagine if you're sitting in your
It's
house?
something hard to like imagine because you think snow like
Yeah.
light fluffy snow,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
now it's collapsing
But the
your
thing is,
roof.
like, yeah, once it settles on wherever it's settled, it's ice.
It compacts.
It compacts. It becomes like ice that's so heavy. And I think what's interesting is that we actually have a picture right now. I think of this the Bills Stadium. Right now, check that out. It
Wow.
looks
Goodness.
Oh my
like
gosh.
It's
almost
like a regular hill. Like
Yeah,
there's
it looks
no
like to me like
seats.
almost like a white NASCAR
Yeah.
stadium.
Yes,
Do you know
it
what I mean?
does.
It does.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is if you see this, they have a game. I believe
It was supposed to be Sunday, and it was
supposed to be
canceled.
Sunday. Yes, it was canceled. But they were, I guess, the execs of the Bills, they were offering to anybody in the area $10 an hour and free tickets to the game if they would come and shovel the inside. I know, right? Which is kind of
What?
crazy, right? And
Yeah.
I don't really know how many people took up the offer, but I know that there was a lot of people who were upset that the Bills made that offer because they were saying, well, why don't you pay that same amount of people to go and shovel someone's driveway
Yes.
or the streets or the highways so that ambulances can get to people, because that's where the death toll, I guess, is coming from, is that people who
Are
are
trapped on
calling
the roads.
911, to get to them, it takes so much longer now. They just can't. You can see right here on the road. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's after like a freshly shoveled area, and you can see the snow still coming down, and it's just the visibility alone.
Oh, there's nothing.
I mean, you can't see it.
I
Yeah.
know there's people that are literally trapped on the freeways there because the snow is just like gathering all around them. And can you imagine just like being in your car, you're just driving somewhere, and you have nothing to sustain you for
Right.
for like 24 hours that you're stuck in your car?
Yeah, check out the road here. They shoveled the road, but you can see the accumulation.
walls.
It's a
The
wall.
walls
It
of
becomes
snow.
a wall, exactly.
I know I saw a picture of the snow when it came in from the lakefront, and it was just like a wall.
Right.
A
It
wall
was.
of
It was-
snow from the city, and it was terrifying. It reminded me of the movie The Day After Tomorrow, to be honest. Like,
really?
it was scary. I was like, oh
I
my
would
gosh.
I think I would hate that honestly more than any natural disaster. I hate snow. I hate it so much.
I am right there with you.
It's just
Hate
cold. Like, it's cold. It doesn't make you feel good. I don't like it at all.
I mean, I think it's a snow day is like a nice like thing, because you think, oh, it's like a an impromptu
relax.
weekend in one day, like it's like a little treat. And now, like I know Alana Nessel, she's one of our reporters. She is from Buffalo, and she was telling me that her parents are going crazy because they don't see each other very often as it is, and they are now, as she says, trapped at home with one another, and they're forced to kind of like hang out a little longer than they're used to.
And they,
Trapped
I mean,
blessing.
really though, think about it. They can't go to work. Like that's terrible.
I know it's terrifying. We're definitely going to need to keep up with it, because this is, as winter, continues, we're only going to see more snow. So we'll keep you up to date. But when we return, Thanksgiving is around the corner, and we all think we know exactly what happened between the Pilgrims and the Indians. But Lucas Stahl is going to be here to tell us what really happened. So stay with us.
All right, guys, we gotta be smarter about what we bite on, okay? I want everyone to go outside. We're gonna run Red Rover on 3.
What about you, Tony?
I'm gonna run around in circles, flap my arms, and make engine noises like this.
When it comes to playing, we kids are the pros.
We're eating right, too. We fuel up.
To play 60!
If your school doesn't have a program, be a leader. Start one.
Click today and join the movement.
Nice.
No! Oops. Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep kids active and healthy.
Works every time.
Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov.
Welcome back. Well, we all think that we are aware of the common Thanksgiving narrative about the Pilgrims and the Indians that met and peacefully sat down for dinner. But that is actually, according to Lucas Stahl here, not exactly the case. And so I think that since it's so close to Thanksgiving, it would be nice to kind of talk about what we think happened and what really happened, according to our Thanksgiving historian, as I like to call him. So Alexis, Megan, according to elementary school, which is I feel like where a lot of people in America learn about Thanksgiving, what were you kind of told happened?
I mean, growing up, we would always make the little handprint turkeys. But, you know, I was taught, also coming from like a religious family, is that we thank the Lord every year for bringing us all together and having what we have and thanking our family and everything like that. Just basically like getting the family together and thanking for like what we have, and I guess having a big feast.
And I mean, what we learned in school is that the Pilgrims came to the land and they found the Indians, and the Indians were like, hey, you want to have some food? And the Pilgrims were like, yeah, and then they became friends, just like that.
Exactly, because that's, I mean, even in modern day America, that's not how friendship just happens and works.
I know, you know what,
that
might work for me. That might work for me. You give me some food, I'll
Here's
be your
some
friend.
corn, you want to be my friend?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how they say it happened. And then I remember, which I know is like would be so controversial now, and I hope this isn't still going on in schools, but they tell the girls or the boys, like, you know, one or the other, like, come dressed as a pilgrim, and the others come dressed as an Indian, which is just so wrong on so many levels. But Lucas, you know, you are pretty aware. You've done a lot of research on the first Thanksgiving and sort of what happened and everything. So address some of these myths that I think that we're hearing.
Well, I think we're like all familiar with, you know, pilgrims coming to this new undiscovered world that apparently had no inhabitants on it beforehand, which obviously in that itself is untrue. But there was an interaction, obviously, between the Pilgrims when they first came to now modern-day America and the Wampanoag Nation, in which you know, the Pilgrims were really struggling. They had a really bad winter, and I think that's the storyline we're familiar with. You know, the Pilgrims went through a really bad winter that year. They were dying of starvation. So essentially, like, the Wampanoag Nation kind of saw this happening and stepped in to help them, you know, grow food, understand the land, because these were new people who didn't even understand the first thing about agriculture. These are people coming from the cities, and it was unfamiliar territory. So, you know, after that year when they had, you know, a feast and they actually had stuff to grow and they were becoming more healthy, they had, you know, a little get together, essentially. And that's what I think we revere as Thanksgiving.
Okay.
But
so a dinner between them did happen, and it was peaceful in nature.
The interaction between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation, according to a lot of history, it was a day where they did come together, and, you know, they were grateful for that year and that harvest. But it wasn't Thanksgiving, technically. That wasn't a reoccurring holiday after that point in time. It was actually like a one-time deal. Because a lot of times we think Thanksgiving was a 3-day feast between the Pilgrims and the Indians. Actually, that 3-day feast didn't occur between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation. Once the land became more developed, the Puritans heard about this, and they quickly came over and started populating all the lands around them. And there was a nation in that area as well called the Pequot Nation. And the Pequots were having their land taken away from them, and obviously they weren't too happy about that. So the Puritans tried to, you know, create like peace treaties with them, but they just weren't having it. They wanted their land, they wanted them out. So at the time, the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Area actually sent in a whole bunch of men to kill the Pequot Nation. It was, some historians estimate between 500 and 700 people were actually massacred on a very late night. In the dead of night, they just came in, killed all these women, children, any people who were survivors were put into slavery. And after that point,
details that we missed now.
Yeah, right. And
little details.
Well, I don't know why they didn't tell us that.
Yeah.
I know, right?
And after that point, essentially, the governor established a 3-day festival of thanks for God eliminating the Pequot Nation. So that is where Thanksgiving came from.
That is its
That's
origin.
not what I celebrate. That's
I
for
know.
sure.
It's not what
Not at
we
all.
thought actually happened.
Well, why
so.
is it that you guys, I mean, like, I just don't understand, I guess, why we are not taught the full story, I guess, in
like high school at least.
or even high
Yeah,
school. I understand where
exactly.
that can obviously be very startling information to kids. You don't, it's hard, I think that's why it's hard to teach history to children, because I mean, history is important events, important developments in our lives, and not all of those are really pleasant. And to teach kids that is tough. But at the same time, to sort of teach them something else and to try to pass it off as what really happened just seems unethical to me.
Well, that's like the main question right now. Is do we tell these kids what actually happened? Because I remember not even like in late middle school actually like getting the full story of what happened when Columbus came.
Right.
Like, you know, and it's just kind of, we're almost like sheltering our children from the real story and what really happened, because it's, I mean, in some ways it is a story. So there's kind of this fantasization about how we came to America, and it's supposed to be this big, great story that's, you know, has us, you know, being the heroes and establishing this great nation, when in actuality, how we did that was very wrong and very terrible.
I definitely think it should be retaught once you get older, mostly because I feel like when I was going up through junior high and high school, they taught us a lot of the same stuff over and over. So why wouldn't you bring that back up and be like, hey, this is what actually happened? And they did that for me in science when we were little. They taught you, you know, when it's warm, it's because that's when the Earth is closest to the sun, and that's not true either. Or maybe that's not what it was, but it was something like when it's daylight, that's when we're closest to the sun, or something like that.
Right.
And you know, I literally remember my science teacher one day being like, "Hey, remember when they taught you guys that? Well, that's wrong." And so I don't understand why they wouldn't do the same thing.
Well, I read online recently that there are a lot of Native American tribes nowadays that what they do is they actually do celebrate Thanksgiving in the sense, but they've changed what it means to them, and they call it it's a day of mourning, like for their people. And there's actually a lot of non-Native American communities in the U.S. who have chosen to adopt that same perspective and to celebrate it in that way. So what do you think would happen if you were to go home and tell your parents, like, let's instead celebrate or, you know, remember, reflect on the Native American lives lost? What do you think would happen if you told your family that?
To be honest, I don't think it would really change that much, just because, you know, our parents, like their generation, they grew up learning that Thanksgiving is, you know, what we were taught in elementary. So it's like, you know, I feel like
teach that?
Yeah, exactly. And they're so used to it. I feel like they'd be like, well, this is a time for family to get together and just have a feast. So
Definitely. Well, when we come back, we are going to talk about what we do plan to do with our families for Thanksgiving, and talk about some of our favorite parts, and we would love to hear from you. So in the meantime, over the break, go on ahead and tweet us and let us know, and we're going to, if you tweet us and let us know, we'll let the world know what you're going to be doing as well, so stay with us.
Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
So I've come up with the family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome back. So Thanksgiving is this upcoming Thursday, and I know I'm very excited. What do you guys plan to do? Are you going home to your families?
Yes, I'm going back home to Findlay. And
far off lands.
All the way to Findlay.
You know, just 20 minutes away. And so we always have this tradition of making green bean casserole, and then I bring the deviled eggs. So good. Everyone loves them, so I'm excited to make those again. And I always have this like tradition every year for myself. I have 2 plates. One plate is filled with mashed potatoes, and then the next is with my turkey, green bean casserole, corn, and then another side of mashed potatoes. So
Oh.
I
Oh my God, you're making me
cannot
so hungry.
wait.
The starches.
I'm
The
excited.
starches.
Gosh, that sounds so good. I think my favorite part, well, my favorite part of the meal is the pie. My favorite part about how my family does it is we get to celebrate like 2 different meals. So I get like 2 Thanksgivings. We do them with my cousins, and then my family actually helps. My church at home does a kind of like a soup kitchen Thanksgiving dinner for less fortunate people, so we get to help that. And usually we get to take home like pie and all the leftovers, and then like we get to celebrate it with my brother and my parents at home. So it's just 2 Thanksgivings in one.
Cool. Lucas, what are you gonna do?
I just get together with my family and we're just getting together. That's it. I mean, everyone's like, we have these great traditions. I'm like, we just like hang out with one another. Yeah, we're like, okay, we're here to eat.
Yeah.
So let's keep talking to the men because I just want the turkey. So that's kind of how we operate. But no, it's just going to be hanging out with the family, getting those good memories made and all that stuff. So yeah.
Maybe educate them about the real Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I'm sure everyone would be so interested.
Yeah, it's like, here we go
Over
again.
the joy and laughter. I'm just like, everyone, attention. They're going to be like, no, Lucas, stop, please.
We're celebrating 3 days of blood here. Exactly.
Just throwing that out there. That's all.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm going to be going home and like getting ready to make dinner with my family and stuff. And actually, my boyfriend will be meeting my family for the first time. He's coming to Thanksgiving. I know. He's going to be meeting them for the first time, so it'll be good. It'll be all the people I love coming together to eat, and it's one of my favorite activities. So lots of
Yes.
And it'll be just a nice time to get away from school and homework.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm excited because I'll be preparing for my wisdom teeth surgery, which I'm having right after Thanksgiving. So I'm going to eat as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, so you get all the solids.
Yes. I'll be eating mashed potato leftovers probably for 2 weeks after.
I don't even want the break to end either because we're going to come back and those 2 weeks are going to go so fast and then we're going to be on Christmas break and I'm going to graduate and I don't. Everyone's like, yeah, the holidays are here. I'm like, no, because as soon as they're here, I graduate from college. And it is just, let me tell you,
buckle up,
it
Megan,
is
for the
surreal.
real world.
I might like save a piece of pie like in my robe during graduation to eat because I need some comfort food. It's gonna be pretty surreal.
Oh my gosh, well definitely we would love to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and we hope that you are all going to be spending time with your loved ones or family and celebrating it in whatever way that you do, but making sure that you eat lots of food. And if you are going Black Friday shopping, be careful, especially if you're flying home and everything. Just safe travels, and we hope that you all have a wonderful time. So thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned. We will not be here next week because of the Thanksgiving break, but we will be here the following week. So we will be having a little bit longer of a break from you guys, so stay safe. And from all of us here at BG24, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a very safe weekend. So have a good night, everyone.